Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Coltrane Conservatory of the Arts talk show. And today we're going to be talking about some wonderful things that you really want to hear about, and we know that you're going to enjoy it. So I want you to kind of sit back and relax, and maybe call somebody and tell them that we're on the air. My name is Joe Pace III. I am the director of the Coltrane Conservatory of the Arts. Now, keep in mind one thing, that we are a music school primarily. That's what we do. We teach music, all the instruments. When we come on this show, we try to share information with you that's going to be helpful in your everyday life. So we want to, first of all, talk about some of the things that we do over at the school. Now remember that we teach all the instruments, and we're just going to share a few things with you. I want you to take a look at these, and you can see for yourself how wonderful oh boy, can you see that? Well, something's wrong there. Something is wrong. We don't have the right, dimensions on there, so you can't see what we're doing here today. Let's see, can you see this one right here? No, you can't see that whole one right there either. So let's see here. Maybe they want me to, nope, I can't put it up like that. Okay. Alright, there we are. Now that's making some sense, but we need to get it a little bit, I guess get the corners off of there. Ladies and gentlemen, can you all see that out there? Okay, well we're not going to be too bothered by it. Okay, there we go. Now it's starting to make sense for us. Okay, now you see, now that's going to be some of our students there. And as you can see, these students right here, ladies and gentlemen, were invited to perform at a program that's being done at the Logan Center. That's the University of Chicago. These are two of those are our students, and that kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. We got a call from a gentleman by the name of David Borking, who is running the program over there, and he wanted to invite some of our youngsters there. Now they had to audition and be talented enough in order to perform in this particular event. But it's a 6-week program, and we sent a couple of our youngsters over there, and they're really enjoying it and learning at the same time. So if you have children, you have grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren that you want to get involved, give us a call at 773-891-1875, or you may reach us here at the station. Now we're going to put that number on the screen so you can see it. Right at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that number there. And we'd like to give you the opportunity to call, and if you want to get more information on the programs that we are doing. We do teach all the instruments, that is to say the trumpet, the piano, the saxophone, drums, baritone horn, bass horns, guitar. We teach all of the instruments, and we have a free program we want people to get involved with. That program is done at the on Saturday, every Saturday at 10:30. We have a free program that we'd like for you to get involved with if you're interested. And all you have to do is just give us a call, and we'll let you know more about it. It's in playing the hand drums. And every Saturday at 10:30, from 10:30 to 11:30, that program is on, and you can you can come by and get involved with that, or your children can get involved. It's open for both adults as well as children. Now we want to talk to you a little bit about some things that, you know, we've been talking to you over the last 3 weeks since we started this program back. We've been talking to you about different things, and today we want to talk about fear, and that how that impedes our lives. For example, if you notice that Many times when we want to do something in life that we really, really will feel good about, something seems to stop us. The most, the biggest impediment to our success is fear itself. And I remember reading about Franklin Roosevelt, who said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Because you see, the fear is what's keeping most people out there from making a phone call right now. There are people out there who would love to talk. This is an interactive program, and there are people out there who would love to talk at this time on the air. But you are afraid, and I'm talking exactly to you. There are people who want to know more about what's going on at the school, but they are afraid because they don't want to call because they feel as though it may be too cumbersome or too expensive or something of that type for them to get involved. We have to get rid of this fear. This is the single most demonic force preventing us from reaching and succeeding with our goals. We have to look fear right in the face and decide that we're going to square off with it. We're not going to be intimidated by this force that keeps us from progressing, from succeeding, from having those things that we desire on this earth. And you know, sometimes we don't feel that we actually deserve these things. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing could be further from the truth. That you deserve all that the earth, that this wonderful, magnificent earth has to offer, is the only way to look at that. You deserve not only all that you think about and dream about, but even more spectacular. Because you see, a human being is something very, very special, extraordinary special. And we're on this earth to enjoy it. So break the shackles of fear. Send it away. Don't listen to the fear, because it's there to prevent you from doing the very thing that's been put on your heart to do. And somebody said that if it's been put on your heart to do, guess what? It's part of your mission on this earth. And so we are talking about this today because the fear itself actually is something that is built into us. It's actually built into us as a natural defense against danger. But what we do is we make the mistake of not understanding how formidable we are as human beings, how much strength and fortitude we really have. And so we end up backing off, retreating, running in the opposite direction. Well, you say that it's built into us naturally to have fear against big beasts, I guess, walking too close to a cliff. I guess sharks in the ocean. That's a natural thing. We're supposed to be wired up like that, so we don't go marching or waltzing off into danger. We're supposed to know that that tiger is dangerous, and he looks like he wants to eat. He's hungry. It's time to get out of here. We're supposed to know that. This isn't something that is happening other than happening by some mechanical way, but by a natural instinct that's built in us. But beyond that, and let me just stop a minute, because I was listening to a man who had become a Navy SEAL, and he was explaining that they are taught when they're in the ocean, when they're swimming around dangerous sharks, they're taught never to run away. Never swim away. Because when you swim away, the shark views that as fear. And when we exhibit fear, we lose respect. We lose any consideration of this magnificent human spirit that we have. Because the fear jerks that away from us. It removes the power. It replaces this enormous spirit with a weak spirit of fear. And the tiger knows that. The lion knows that. People know that. Yeah. And most people, in fact, it would be very difficult for you to find someone who respects fear. Most people, but we have it in our own life. And we are fearful of setting goals. Many people don't even make New Year resolutions anymore, because we're fearful. We're fearful of telling people that we have goals, because we're fearful that we won't be able to accomplish them, and we'll look bad after 6 months, a year, whatever the goal term is. We're fearful, and we must relieve ourselves of this fear. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears as though we have a caller. Caller?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, I wanted to make the point that I think that we need to speak in terms of context.
I'm sorry, caller, can you speak up a little bit? You are breaking up, and I can barely hear you.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me now?
A little better. You are breaking up, and I can barely hear you. Yes, can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Hello? What happened to the caller? Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello? Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, it's two people, I think, on the other line. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, and you, sir?
All right, and I know who that caller trying to call. His name is Steve. He's a good guy. But I was listening to what you were saying about fear.
Uh-huh.
My theory is this. I think God gave everyone fear, a very small, innate in our brain. All animals, everyone has that fear. But fear is a item that is supposed to make you stronger. Some people are scared to death. If they jump in the water, they not ain't gonna try to swim. They will sink and die. You got some people that's gonna fight and learn and try to save themselves. I think that's a very good part of life. I think that's what separates people. Now, I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. Listen, I remember you back in the day over there on 63rd at the beach with those drums over there. And look what you did. I know some of those people that's over there now probably walking dead or either dead,
Yeah.
but you had the strength to fight and do what you're doing over there on Cottage Grove. You're teaching people. So again, you could have been fearful of not even to try, but you were strong enough to try to do things. That's the difference that I'm thinking about in fear.
And caller, what's your name?
I'm Steve.
Oh, you are Steve. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'm the one that talked to you about Donald Duck.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That. Okay, well, those are very good points. I'm happy to hear that you're still calling us.
Yeah, let me get out there because I definitely want to hear your perspective on that.
Okay, very good.
And
Thank you very much for calling.
Get the next person a chance to speak to you. Thank you for taking call. Let me get off.
All right, Steve, take care now. Do we have anyone else? Another caller? Go right ahead, caller.
Yes, actually, it must be a Steve Knight. This is also Steve. I wanted to make the point pretty much that this last caller made. It is context when we talk about fear. There is no species on the planet that does not have that innate capacity that has managed to survive the evolutionary process. Without fear, the ability to run away from danger, the ability to escape from danger, you do not survive as a species. Now, when we talk about fear in terms of long-term planning, in terms of being fearful of hard work, of dedication, of goals, that's something we need to divest ourselves of and overcome. But the basic fear of things of danger, I mean, I think that, to speak to anyone who's ever served in the military, they will tell you they don't think when they hear a gunshot or a round coming over or these sorts of things. They just hit the ground because it's instinctual and they've been trained that way to respond. And there's no shame. And the idiot is the person who stands up as mortars are coming down on their head. The sane person is the one that's in the foxhole keeping their head down. Fear is a great motivator that keeps us alive in that sense. So, again, I agree with the last caller. It's about placing context in terms of when we refer to terms like fear. What are we talking about? The fear of staying alive? Nothing wrong in terms of having that kind of fear. The fear of failure, of trying to better oneself, those are the fears that we need to overcome.
Yeah, that's true. Caller, you're so right. We want to thank you for calling. Here's the thing, folks. I think I started off by saying that if you're going to be running into tangling with a tiger, there is an instinct in us. That's a natural instinct in us, and it's been put there. Now, I've done a lot of things in my life, and when I've stepped up to the plate, so to speak, I have managed always to succeed in what I was doing. Now, I started teaching school. A lot of guys don't know it because I never actually blew my horn, but I started teaching school in 1975. And I actually served in the United States Navy honorably. I have medals during the Vietnam crisis. And in addition to that, I've worked over in Europe as a consultant. I was sent to Europe by a company, and I worked there for a year and a half. In addition to that, I've worked with a number of corporations in and around this country, as well as been an entrepreneur. And I think I've had 3 or 4 businesses. I'm not sure. I lose count after a while. But I had one for almost 10 years in Beverly, here in Chicago. And not only that, but I can start naming things in which when I stepped out, I was working for a window company. Some of you have heard of it by the name of Felco. They're still around. They're big, pretty big company. And two guys came, three of us started talking. We were consultants. We'd go out and we'd sell the windows in the different homes. And three guys, me and two other guys got together, and we said, okay, why don't we put our own business together? And we talked about it. We met for a few times, but the other two guys sort of cooled on the idea. And I decided that I was going to go ahead and do it myself. And I opened it up out of my home. Eventually, I remember we were in Cancun. They had sent a bunch of us on vacation to Cancun. A bunch of the leading salespeople had been sent to Cancun. And I'd already talked to one woman, because we were, you have to slowly get your feet wet sometimes when you're doing something like that. I had bills to pay. I didn't want to just jump out there like that. So I kept my job, but I was at the same time making the first steps for opening my own business. And I remember talking to this lady. I went to her home and talked to her, and she had a three-flat building. And we were in Cancun, eating lobster and the big shrimp and all of that, having a great time. And I remember getting a call. I called back to my home. And at that time, this was in the mid-90s, I think, maybe a little bit, maybe like 97, 98. But anyway, I called back. And on my answering machine, this lady was on there saying, sir, I'm going to go with you. I've decided that I'm going to go with you. And ladies and gentlemen, that was my first job in a company that I eventually opened up and kept for almost 10 years, and right there with a showroom in Beverly. And when she called, it was substantial. It was a substantial job. And when I say substantial, I mean substantial. And but anyway, I had to go out on my own because the other two guys were filled with fear. And so we understand that. See, we have to face fear we have to look fear in its face. We have to stare it down, And this is what is plaguing a lot of people, plaguing a lot of people, especially in a country where, people are descendants of Africa, and it's a majority Caucasian country. People are afraid because they're afraid, someone may be prejudiced, somebody may turn me down. The idea of being rejected means a great deal to people. I went to Europe on a commission sales job, and I made more money there than I've ever made in all my life. Now, who would go to Europe, go that far, be sent that far, and told if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything? Okay? But that's the type of courage that we must have. Okay? That is the type of courage we must have to go to Europe, to work in this country, to be able just to go and say, listen, I'm going to get an education and I'm going to do something with my life. It is it's pathetic that anyone would waste this beautiful life that we've been given on this earth. And in spite of all of the obstacles that we might face, some of us, sometimes as minorities, believe it or not, the opportunities are still far greater than if we were in some other places around the world. So we have to look at what's here, and we have to say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to get a part of this because I deserve it, okay? And I'm not going to let fear wear me. Ladies and gentlemen, we should never fear anything. Now, I said that, okay? We should never fear anything. And I'll tell you a story once. I think I'm going to tell the story. We only have a few minutes left. And I wanted to go in another direction. But nothing in life is to be feared. And what happens is when we fear something, we become angry, you see. If you fear something, fear leads to anger. And anger eventually leads to hatred. And hatred leads to suffering. Okay? Always remember that. Always remember that. Anger itself. Fear leads to anger. And anger leads to hatred. And hatred leads to suffering. Don't ever forget that, And the less that we hate, the less anger we have in us, the more successful that we become. Even what's happened to the descendants of what's happened to those people who have come out of the diaspora, and have been spread across mostly North America, and are now sometimes their children and their grandchildren, and they themselves are still struggling, trying to remove these chains, mental chains in many cases. Fear. That's what we're talking about today. We have to remove that. We can no longer allow hatred and anger and fear to control our lives. And the less of that we have, the more successful we'll. The brother mentioned that a moment ago that I had, he remembered when I was out on the lake playing the drums, or even when I was out there playing the drums, I probably had one of these businesses I had, or one of these jobs that I'm talking about right now. That was something that I did in order to bring pleasure to myself. I enjoyed it. And I'm still a musician. I've been a musician since I was about 10 years old. But I want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be going off the air in a few minutes. I want to thank my assistants, the board operator, Barbara G. Pace. And I also want to thank all the other people down here who help us to bring this about. We're going to be talking more about these subjects. I want all of you all to keep listening and whatnot. We'll talk more about these things, because the purpose of this is to enrich you, to empower people, and to get people to where they will not doubt themselves and will never, ever give up. Okay, so we're going to be talking to you, and we'll see you on next time. Please come back. We enjoyed, and thank you callers for calling. So we'll see you no, we won't see you next. We'll see you week after next, okay? So come back on week after next. We'll see you week after next, okay? Take care.